Today, we are going to look at a powerful concept that can completely transform the way men interact with women, especially as they get older. And the interesting part is this: it has nothing to do with wealth, physical appearance, or the overused pickup lines people copy from the internet. What truly creates attraction goes much deeper. There are two simple words that spark emotional reactions inside a woman's mind in a way most men never realize. In a moment, I will reveal what those words are and explain the psychology behind them. But there is also a little detail almost everyone misses, and that small difference is what separates unforgettable men from the ones women quickly forget. Stay with me until the end, because understanding this can dramatically improve the way you communicate. Over the years, I have studied countless interactions between men and women, and one pattern became very clear. The men who naturally attract women are rarely the most handsome or the wealthiest. Instead, they are the ones who understand how to communicate emotions directly and confidently. Most men get trapped in shallow conversations. They try too hard to impress, avoid saying the wrong thing, and constantly overanalyze every word. But the men who truly stand out approach communication differently. They don't seek approval. They create emotional certainty. They don't hide behind jokes, distractions, or meaningless chatter. They communicate their intentions openly, and that changes everything. Think about your own experiences for a moment. How often have you held back your real thoughts because you feared rejection or judgment? How many times have you toned down your feelings, softened your message, or played it safe, only to end up overlooked or placed into the nice guy category? If you have ever felt like you were doing everything correctly but still not getting the results you wanted, I want you to comment, "I get it," because that is where the real shift begins. Attraction is not about trying harder, it is about communicating in a more genuine and emotionally clear way. And that's the deeper lesson here. This is not about manipulation, mind games, or tricks. It is about understanding how emotional connection actually develops in a woman's mind. Once you understand that, your entire presence changes. The way you speak changes. The way you carry yourself changes. And most importantly, the way a woman feels when she is around you changes too. The human mind naturally responds to certainty more than perfection or performance. When a man communicates with confidence and emotional clarity, it creates both comfort and curiosity at the same time. That combination is extremely attractive because it leaves a lasting emotional impression. It makes a woman more attentive, more engaged, and more likely to remember you long after the conversation ends. This is where many men misunderstand attraction. They believe it is about trying to impress a woman, when in reality, attraction is about emotional influence. What matters most is how a woman feels when she is with you, and even more importantly, how she feels after you have left. Now let's make this practical instead of theoretical, because knowledge only matters if you can apply it in real situations. The first powerful word is, "I want." At first glance, it may sound overly simple or even unimportant. But when a man says, "I want," with calm confidence and clear intention, he shows something uncommon: he openly owns his desires. He is not avoiding responsibility, seeking approval, or hiding behind vague language. Instead, he communicates direction and certainty. And that is the key point: it is not merely the words themselves, but the mindset behind them. Psychologically, a man who confidently expresses what he wants shows decisiveness and emotional honesty, qualities that many people naturally respond to. Think about a real example. Imagine texting a woman you are interested in. A lot of men might say, "Maybe we could hang out sometime if you're free." It sounds polite and cautious, but emotionally, it carries very little impact. Why? Because it shifts all responsibility onto her and reveals uncertainty about his intentions. Now compare that to this: "I want to take you out this Saturday. I know a place you would really enjoy." The emotional difference is immediate. One statement creates doubt and hesitation, while the other creates movement and confidence. One passively asks, the other confidently leads. And it is important to understand that leadership in attraction is not about controlling someone. It is about offering clarity and direction. When a man communicates clearly, it removes uncertainty from the interaction. But when he lacks direction, a woman may subconsciously feel pressure to take over that role herself, and over time, that often weakens attraction. Let me tell you about a man I once worked with. He was intelligent, caring, and professionally successful, yet he struggled to stand out in dating. Women enjoyed talking to him, but there was no real spark of attraction. After analyzing the way he communicated, one issue became obvious: he rarely spoke with directness. His words were always uncertain and overly cautious. To help him change that, I gave him a simple challenge. For 1 week, he had to replace passive language with clear statements beginning with, "I want." The results were immediate. Women became more engaged, replied more quickly, and showed greater interest. The reason was simple: confidence and clarity are naturally attractive. Instead of saying, "We could get coffee sometime," he began saying, "I want to get coffee with you this week." Rather than, "Maybe we should talk again," he said, "I want to continue this conversation." Those small shifts completely changed the way women responded to him. He wasn't being pushy or aggressive, he was simply being clear about his intentions. In a world where many people hesitate, certainty stands out. However, many men misunderstand this idea. They assume that expressing desire alone is enough. It is not. If your communication only centers on what you want, without emotional awareness, you can come across as self-focused. That's why another word becomes just as important: I appreciate. This is where communication gains emotional depth. While "I want" expresses direction and intention, "I appreciate" expresses understanding and recognition. It tells a woman that you don't merely desire her, you notice and value who she is. Feeling genuinely seen is one of the strongest emotional experiences a woman can have. For example, imagine ending a meaningful conversation. Instead of saying something generic like, "That was fun," you might say, "I really appreciate the way you think." Your perspective has a depth that is rare. Notice the difference. Rather than focusing on appearance or shallow compliments, you acknowledge something personal and meaningful. That creates a stronger emotional connection because it makes her feel understood. Psychological research supports this idea. When people feel emotionally validated and recognized for who they are internally, the brain responds positively, creating feelings of trust and connection that go beyond physical attraction. That is why the combination of "I want" and "I appreciate" is so effective. Saying something like, "I want to see you again because I appreciate how you challenge my thinking," or, "I want to spend more time with you because I appreciate your energy," gives emotional meaning to your desire. You are no longer just expressing attraction, you are expressing intentional appreciation. The key difference is subtle but powerful: you are not acting as though you need her. You are showing that you consciously choose her. That difference changes the entire emotional dynamic. Now, let's talk about the mistake that quietly destroys all of this: lack of congruence. Congruence means your words, tone, body language, and emotions all align with one another. There is no contradiction between what you say and how you say it. A woman does not only hear your words, she also interprets your energy. If you say, "I want to take you out," while speaking nervously, avoiding eye contact, or appearing physically closed off, the message loses its impact. Mixed signals create uncertainty, and uncertainty is often interpreted as insecurity. Women are especially sensitive to emotional inconsistency. Small changes in tone, hesitation, tension, and body language are often noticed subconsciously. These subtle cues act like signals that reveal whether someone is being authentic or not. So, how can you fix this? The first step is to slow yourself down. Pay attention to your body language and emotional state before you speak. Stay grounded and present. When you say something like, "I appreciate the way you express yourself," let it come from genuine sincerity. And when you say, "I want," speak from certainty rather than trying to impress. Your posture matters too. Stand confidently, relax your shoulders, and maintain comfortable eye contact instead of forcing it. When expressing appreciation, take a brief pause and slow your delivery slightly so the words feel meaningful rather than rushed. A simple way to practice this is by standing in front of a mirror and saying, "I want to see you again." Pay attention to your breathing, posture, and any tension in your body. Then adjust yourself, open your chest, breathe more deeply, and repeat the sentence while truly feeling the emotion behind it. Next, say, "I appreciate the way you express yourself." This time, slow your pace and pause naturally around the word appreciate. The goal is to align your body, voice, and emotions with your words. Communication is not only about what you say, it's about how you deliver it. Long after words fade, the emotional feeling they create often remains. Another important factor is timing. These words lose their impact when overused or delivered mechanically. They work best in meaningful moments, after a deep conversation, during a shared experience, or within a quiet emotional pause. For instance, imagine the end of a date. Instead of nervously filling the silence with random chatter, you pause, look at her, and say, "I want to do this again. I really appreciate the energy you bring." Moments like these become memorable because emotional experiences linger in the mind long after the conversation ends. There's also a deeper layer to attraction that many men overlook: emotional contrast. Conversations that stay at the same emotional level the entire time often feel dull and forgettable. But when there's variation, light-hearted moments mixed with sincerity and depth, the interaction becomes more engaging and memorable. Attraction often grows in subtle emotional shifts rather than obvious attempts to impress. Tone changes, pauses, silence, and emotional contrast create tension and curiosity. Without those elements, interactions can feel predictable. Think about the difference between a flat conversation and one that moves naturally between humor, seriousness, and vulnerability. Those emotional changes create stronger impressions because the brain remembers emotionally charged moments. That's why the words, "I want" and "I appreciate" become more powerful when used at the right moment within the emotional flow of a conversation. Imagine being on a date where the atmosphere is playful and relaxed. If the interaction stays purely playful the entire time, you may come across as entertaining but emotionally shallow. However, if you suddenly slow down, soften your tone, hold eye contact a little longer, and say, "I want to ask you something real," you instantly create emotional contrast. That pause changes the mood. It builds anticipation and deeper curiosity. If she then shares something personal, instead of quickly switching back to jokes, you stay present in that moment and respond with something like, "I appreciate you sharing that." Most people don't open up so honestly. By doing this, you create emotional safety while also validating her vulnerability. This is one of the foundations of emotional bonding. Over time, consistently creating these emotionally meaningful moments can make someone associate you with depth, authenticity, and presence, qualities that stand out from ordinary interactions. However, there's another habit that can ruin this dynamic: talking too much. Many men become uncomfortable with silence and try to fill every pause with unnecessary words. But silence, when used intentionally, can be incredibly powerful. Silence builds anticipation, allows emotions to settle, and gives your words more impact. For example, if you say, "I want to see you again," and immediately start over-explaining or justifying yourself, the emotional effect weakens. But imagine saying, "I want to see you again." Then you stop, holding eye contact, allowing the silence to exist naturally. That pause strengthens the emotional weight of what you just said. It gives the other person space to feel the moment rather than simply hear the sentence. This is something you can begin practicing immediately. The next time you express something meaningful, resist the urge to rush into more words. Let the silence exist for a moment. Confidence is reflected not only in speech but also in your comfort with stillness. There's also a psychological concept known as emotional imprinting. This happens when a moment becomes emotionally memorable and continues replaying in someone's mind afterward. These memories are not created through logic alone. They are formed through emotional intensity, uniqueness, and feeling. When clear intention, genuine appreciation, emotional contrast, and purposeful silence all come together, they create moments that feel different and emotionally significant. Those are the interactions that stay in a woman's memory and make them think, there's something unique about him. And often, it is that sense of uniqueness that creates lasting attraction. Let me tell you about a woman who once explained why she couldn't stop thinking about a man she had only met a couple of times. She said, it wasn't necessarily the words he used. It was the way he made me feel. When he looked at me, it felt like he genuinely noticed me. And when he spoke, everything felt calm, thoughtful, and intentional, never rushed or fake. That's the essence of intentional presence. Now, let's make this practical. Start paying attention to the way you communicate. Notice the moments when you rush through your words, avoid expressing what you truly feel, or rely on shallow compliments instead of meaningful observations. Then begin making small but important changes. Instead of simply saying, "You're fun," try saying, "I appreciate how easy it is to talk to you." That's uncommon. Instead of, "We should hang out again," say, "I want to see you again. I really enjoyed spending time with you." And instead of rushing to fill every quiet moment, allow brief pauses to exist naturally. These adjustments may seem minor, but they can dramatically change how others experience you. What's important to understand is that this isn't about memorizing clever phrases or techniques. It's about developing a genuine mindset. If you use these words without sincerely meaning them, people will sense it. Communication that feels scripted rarely creates real connection, because authenticity cannot be imitated for very long. So how do you become more authentic? You begin by being honest with yourself. Ask yourself what you truly want and what qualities you genuinely value in other people. If you're unclear about those answers, take time to reflect on them. The more clarity you have within yourself, the more natural and confident your communication becomes. And that sense of clarity is something women strongly respond to. There's another important detail many men overlook: emotional specificity. Vague statements tend to create weak emotional reactions, while specific observations feel personal and impactful. For example, saying, "I appreciate you," is kind, but it lacks depth. Compare that to, "I appreciate how calm you stay during stressful situations." That says a lot about your character. Now the compliment feels real and meaningful because it highlights something unique about her personality. When you communicate this way, you naturally stand apart from people who only rely on surface-level praise. You don't have to forcefully try to impress anyone, your attentiveness already does the work. Here's a simple challenge to practice the next time you talk with a woman. First, express one direct, "I want" statement. Second, give one thoughtful and specific, "I appreciate" statement. Third, allow at least one meaningful pause or moment of silence during the interaction. That's all. You don't need complicated techniques or rehearsed lines. Those 3 small changes alone can completely shift the emotional tone of a conversation. And when done sincerely, something interesting happens: she becomes more engaged, more emotionally open, and more likely to remember you afterward. Most importantly, she begins associating you with emotional depth and genuine presence, qualities that leave a lasting impression.